The most powerful woman in the city drops to her knees, trembling with fear. Dozens of henchmen are crushed to the ground in seconds, and a simple phone screen reveals a staggering balance of 10 billion. But just yesterday, the same guy was treated like trash. A humiliated delivery driver who caught his wife in the act, with an arrogant rich man at a hotel, forced to kneel for spare change, and thrown out like a stray dog by his own family. They had no idea. These 3 years of extreme humiliation were just a test, and the test is finally over. The lowly delivery driver zips up his jacket, revealing his true status as a supreme billionaire CEO. Now, anyone who raises a hand to him gets dropped. Anyone who tries to fire him loses everything. $10 million gifts are just pocket change. His cheating ex-wife will break down in regret, while the corporate goddess surrenders at his feet. They provoked the wrong monster. The absolute revenge of President Yi Chen begins. It all starts in a luxury hotel. A woman's bare foot steps onto the floor. She heads into the bathroom to take a shower. Suddenly, someone grabs her clothes. A man steps up saying he will finally get what he wants, but a sudden knock on the door interrupts him. The handle turns. Our protagonist announces that the delivery has arrived. He steps right into a terrible scene. Hastily covering her body, his wife asks what he is doing there. He freezes, letting the food drop to the floor. The long-haired man yells, calling him useless. The weight of the betrayal hangs heavy in the air. Laughing in his face, the rich man tells him to get lost. His fists clench. After years of doing everything for her without a shred of respect, he asks how she could be with someone else. Her response is cold. She tells him he is just a delivery boy. Bragging, the rich man claims to own $1 billion company. She agrees, claiming that only someone with that kind of wealth is worthy. They order our protagonist to kneel if he wants a 5-star rating on the app. Looking right at them, he asks if they really think money buys everything. Ignoring him entirely, the man tries to kiss her right there, but our protagonist grabs his neck, making the man scream. The wife steps in to defend her lover, demanding he let go immediately. She threatens to call security and tells him to get out. As he walks away, he promises she will regret this. He pulls out the engagement paper, a marriage arranged by his grandfather. Their first date was supposed to be the start of a happy life, but now it is clear that it was all an illusion. With years completely wasted, he vows that payback is coming. He walks away, completely exhausted from the constant humiliation. Just then, his phone starts ringing non-stop. He answers the call, switching back to his delivery boy persona. The voice on the other end announces that his 3-year training is finally over. He receives the news that he is now the president of a massive conglomerate. His ex-wife's actions confirm she is no longer worthy of his time. Revving his motorcycle, our protagonist leaves the past behind. Arriving at her house, he confronts her directly. He demands an explanation for the betrayal, refusing to let it go. But she throws her right back, telling him he lives off her charity and needs to keep his mouth shut. He slams his hands on the table. After 3 years of being a punching bag, he is completely done. He makes it clear he won't tolerate this for another second. He demands a divorce, taking a final stand. The woman stands frozen, calling him completely crazy. He fires back, stating he no longer needs this life. Accepting his terms in a fit of rage, she claims he will come crawling back. They agree to meet at the registry office first thing in the morning to finalize it, but she tries to delay it using her grandmother's birthday party as an excuse. Agreeing to wait for her call, he turns his back on her, screaming insults at him. She swears he will regret this decision. Meanwhile, a voice on the phone informs him that his car is waiting just down the street. He stands in the rain as a high-end luxury car pulls up. The door opens, and the security guards treat him like an absolute boss. He refuses an umbrella, letting the heavy rain wash over him. He slicks his hair back, ready to finally take his true place in the world. Slipping on a tailored coat, he prepares to claim his throne. The game has officially changed. A massive fleet of luxury cars brings the entire street to a halt. The entire neighborhood watches through their windows, stunned by the display of power. Even his ex-wife peeks outside, desperate to know who this mysterious billionaire is. His subordinates adjust their glasses, ready for orders. Having inherited his family's vast fortune, our protagonist now controls billions. He walks toward a private helicopter, treated like pure royalty. High in the air, the intense training he endured since he was 3 years old is finally complete. The elder's ultimate test has finally come to an end. His grandfather had forced him to live as a lowly delivery boy for 3 years as a trial. He followed every strict rule without a single complaint. He closes his eyes, putting a definitive end to all the humiliation, and returns to the city to take control. Meanwhile, at the grandmother's party, his ex-wife's family puts their hypocrisy on full display. The old woman complains about her son-in-law's absence, taking every chance to insult him, trying to cover it up. His ex says he must still be at work. The rest of the relatives burst into laughter, mocking our protagonist's job. They joke that he needs to come back just to clean up after the dog, but his wife drops a bomb, announcing that they are getting a divorce. The grandmother immediately yells, demanding to know who gave them permission to do that. Lying straight to her face, the woman claims our protagonist found someone else. They call him an ungrateful traitor for cheating after they provided him with a house and car. Adding fuel to the fire, the cousin makes a joke out of the whole situation. Losing her temper, the old woman orders them to drag him over so they can teach him a lesson. Grabbing her phone, the ex calls him to deliver the order. His phone rings, and he answers the call. He asks what she wants, completely out of patience. She demands he show up in front of the grandmother right away, but our protagonist simply hangs up on her. She tells the family that he refused to show up. Out for blood, the cousin offers to drag him there by force. The ex-wife is left standing there, completely humiliated by his absolute disregard. The grandmother then gathers everyone around, announcing she has serious news to share. She brings up the new president of the conglomerate, a man who remains a complete mystery. She begins planning their future, desperate to get close to this new billionaire at all costs. Walking into his new office, our protagonist is greeted by the staff. His right-hand man questions why he is still wearing his delivery uniform, but he decides to keep the disguise as it is the final day of his delivery contract. The scene cuts to the ex's cousin, speeding down the road in a sports car to hunt him down. He promises to deal with him quickly and painfully. Slamming on his brakes out of nowhere, our protagonist is nearly run over by the playboy. The cousin orders him to get into the car right now, trying to intimidate him, but our protagonist fires back, stating that not even the old woman begging on her knees could stop this divorce. He questions what right the old woman has to punish him. The cousin yells that he betrayed the family and must pay heavily. Calmly removing his helmet, our protagonist asks if his ex made that up. He holds back a laugh. A chuckle slips out at the sheer delusion of this family. He warns them that his patience has a limit. The playboy freezes, completely thrown off by the sudden change in his demeanor. Rejecting the banquet invitation, he turns to walk away. Stepping out of the car, the cousin threatens to teach him a lesson. He lunges forward with everything he has. Our protagonist answers with a solid kick right to the playboy's face. Desperate, the rich kid pulls out a pocket knife. He swings wildly, trying to land a hit. Grabbing his wrist, our protagonist shuts the attack down effortlessly. A clean punch sends the cousin flying backward. He makes it crystal clear that he is no longer the family's lapdog. His days of taking orders are officially over. Sprawled on the ground, the cousin mutters a threat of revenge. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, the matriarch steps out to the front of the building. Her grandson's car pulls up at a crawl. Whining to his grandmother, the playboy puts on an exaggerated show. He claims the useless delivery boy attacked him. Furious, his father demands that our protagonist pay for this. He asks if they should just call the police right away. Rejecting the idea to protect the family name, the grandmother takes control. Making a few shady calls, the father hires some local thugs for the job. Waiting in the apartment stairwell, the hired muscle sets up an ambush, ordering him to come quietly or else the massive men circle him. Faced with the underworld trap, our protagonist doesn't even blink. Without hesitation, the men charge at him. Within seconds, the stairwell echoes with the gang's screams of pain. Dusting off his hands, his only concern is whether the delivery is still intact. One of the thugs struggles to his feet for a second attempt. Moving like lightning, he lands a brutal punch right to the guy's face. He picks the package off the floor, his focus entirely on the job. He lets out a relieved sigh, glad the food is completely unharmed. He heads off to his final delivery, eager to finish his shift. Back at the luxury hotel, his father-in-law reports that the thugs were completely humiliated. The mother-in-law's jaw drops, refusing to believe the useless boy knows how to fight. Screaming in frustration, the grandmother asks if anyone can actually stop him. Changing the subject, the father-in-law introduces the regional delivery boss. Whispering to the grandmother, the playboy's father claims to have a brilliant idea. Handing over an incredibly expensive wine, the delivery boss flatters the matriarch, accepting it with a forced smile. The old woman hides her boiling anger. The father-in-law then brings up his useless son-in-law, setting the plan in motion. Lying through his teeth, he claims the boy was unfaithful and assaulted his grandson. Shocked, the boss asks how a lowly delivery boy would dare do such a thing. Confirming the boy is his employee, the suit decides to step in. He tells him to leave it to him, eager to prove his worth to the wealthy family. Calling dispatch, he has them track Ye Chen's number and request an immediate delivery. 15 minutes later, our protagonist arrives at the hotel with his delivery bag. As he takes off his helmet, Mr. Ma announces the delivery and orders him inside, demanding he bring the food in. The father-in-law sets the stage for a public humiliation, but our protagonist states that delivery drivers stay outside inside, asking them to take it at the door. The man insists on the trap, ordering him to step inside immediately. He points out that the door is already open. Stepping inside, the ambush becomes obvious. The Wang family is standing right next to his boss. Mr. Makum immediately marches up to him. He orders him to strip off his uniform and hand over his badge, firing him on the spot. Frowning, our protagonist asks the reason for all this theater. Calling him an idiot, the cousin boasts that Mr. Ma is the top boss of the region. Adding to the humiliation, the father-in-law pulls out his phone, pretending to talk to the manager. Playing along, Mr. Ma confirms that Yi Chen is officially out of a job. He demands he remove the company uniform right in front of everyone. He takes off the uniform with pure contempt, clearly entirely unbothered about losing the job. Laughing in his face, the cousin calls him a homeless stray. He drops the company shirt to the floor without a second thought. The men mockingly doubt he will ever amount to anything better in life, but our protagonist casually mentions that the company's city contract is about to expire anyway. Sneering, his ex-boss says a nobody like him will never have the power to effect that. The matriarch finally loses her patience, screaming at him to kneel, accusing him of betrayal and assault. The old woman demands a severe punishment. He simply asks why on earth he should kneel to her. She brings up an old promise, reminding him he once agreed to face any punishment if he stepped out of line. Stating that his word is absolute, he accepts the challenge, but refuses to bow down. The father-in-law orders them to bring out the dragon ruler to scar his son-in-law. A luxurious box is opened, revealing the family's traditional weapon of punishment. The family openly gloats, explaining that the wooden ruler leaves deep marks for days. Getting the final order, the grandmother commands them to strike his face 20 times. Grabbing the ruler, the brother-in-law steps up, eager to play executioner, but his ex-wife interrupts, her voice dripping with hate as she demands to do it herself. Gripping the heavy wood, she winds up to strike. Staring coldly right back at her, he dares her to swing. He asks if she really has the nerve, his intense glare making her hesitate. Covering up her fear, she claims that as his wife, she holds the sole right to punish him, but the cousin snatches the ruler away, throwing every insult in the book at him. He swings hard, aiming straight for his face, but our protagonist catches the playboy's hand with absolute ease. He fires back with a punch that drops the rich kid right in front of the entire room. The entire room of guests is left completely speechless. The matriarch completely loses it, screaming that she will have him thrown in jail. Completely unfazed, he states that it was just self-defense. His father-in-law tries to take the moral high ground, asking if a real man would act this way. But our protagonist shoots that down, stating he will only accept punishment if he actually did something wrong. The old woman doubles down, accusing him again of betrayal and attacking her grandson. That is when he drops the bomb, revealing his ex was in a hotel room with another man. Whispers immediately erupt among the guests, her supposed innocence completely shattered. Desperate, his ex screams that it is a lie, claiming they were just meeting for business. He destroys her excuse instantly, asking if she really needed a private hotel room just to talk business. Right then, the preppy Feng Xiao steps into the hall. Playing dumb, the wealthy playboy asks what is going on. The ex-wife begs him to tell the truth about their meeting and clear her name. Lying straight to their faces, the rich heir claims she was only there to deliver some documents. He even accuses Yi Chen of being a liar with zero proof. He says Yi Chen is just trying to drag his wife down out of jealousy, completely winning over the matriarch. He then reveals he left a 1-star review for Yi Chen on the delivery app. Showing his phone, he proves he is the reason Yi Chen got fired. The former boss cracks a smile, confirming the bad review was for a poor attitude. The guests immediately go back to glaring at Yi Chen. Pushing the humiliation further, the rival demands an explanation for the dropped food. He crosses his arms, stating that Yi Chen clearly cannot handle the pressure of a real job. Yi Chen laughs at their sheer shamelessness. There is no turning back now. The matriarch demands silence and asks if he has any actual proof of the cheating. A heavy silence fills the room for a few seconds. The old woman quickly brushes it off to focus on what matters, the divorce. Yi Chen stands his ground, stating there is camera footage proving he acted in self-defense. The matriarch yells that no one cares about that. She just wants him gone. He makes his final offer, promising to disappear if they just leave him alone. He demands an immediate divorce so he will not have to get the police involved. Calling the marriage her late husband's biggest mistake, the matriarch accepts right away. The relatives immediately celebrate the relief of shedding this dead weight. They agree that the granddaughter deserves someone from high society. They officially kick Yi Chen out of the family with absolutely nothing to his name. The excited father-in-law waves a waiter over for drinks to celebrate. He proposes a toast to his daughter's new life alongside a respectable man. The ex-wife gets showered with praise by her mother for hooking a wealthy heir. The mother-in-law even brags that her daughter is still completely untouched after 3 years of marriage. Watching the scene with a smirk, a massive weight lifts off Yi Chen's shoulders. He raises his wine glass, preparing for a final toast. He wishes his ex-wife luck in finding someone truly on her level. The ex-wife tries to act superior, demanding he fall to his knees and beg for her forgiveness. Laughing at the sheer absurdity, he asks if she genuinely thinks he would stoop that low. He lifts his glass without blinking and pours the entire glass of wine straight onto the floor. Furious, she screams that he has completely lost his mind. The audacity of wasting the drink leaves the room outraged. Pointing to his swollen face, the cousin declares that simply getting a divorce is letting him off too easy. The matriarch firmly states she will not let this insult slide. She calls on the wealthy guests to cut off Ye Chen's livelihood across the entire city. The guests whisper among themselves, debating if it is worth getting involved in the drama. Feng Zhao quickly steps up, permanently banning him from every hotel in the area. Eager to see him crawl, the arrogant heir swears he will be the one marrying Ye Chen's ex. A restaurant owner joins in, completely blacklisting him from all local dining spots. His former boss promises he will never work a delivery job again. Staring the crowd down, Ye Chen smirks and asks if anyone else wants a turn. One last businessman steps forward, banning him from every bar in the district. The cousin laughs, suggesting he should try his luck as a security guard since he clearly knows how to throw a punch. The entire room agrees that no one in the city would ever dare cross their elite circle. They burst out laughing, absolutely certain they have just ruined Ye Chen's life. Out of nowhere, a stunning woman enters the venue. The father-in-law trembles, quickly apologizing for not welcoming her properly. Trying to suck up to her, the Wans introduce the famous vice president of the Huasheng group. She is known to everyone as the absolute goddess of the business world. President Qin's authority in the city is vast and merciless. Acting like royalty, she ignores the sycophants and focuses on only one person. She studies Ye Chen's face with deep curiosity. She has found exactly who she was looking for. The father-in-law chimes in, stating she is the only one connected to the true elite of Yongcheng. Awaiting her commands, the businessmen loudly agree that she runs the entire city. He quickly apologizes for speaking out of turn. Many whisper that someone this beautiful must have used shady tactics to reach the top. Begging her to cut off Ye Chen's livelihood, the Wangs push for the final blow. Completely ignoring their absurd request, President Qin pulls an object from her bag. She pulls out a cigarette, her intentions remaining a total mystery. Instantly, a dozen desperate men rush forward, offering to light it for her. Brushing past the dozens of offered lighters, she locks eyes entirely on Ye Chen. With a seductive gesture, she calls him closer. The entire room holds its breath, wondering what this powerful woman wants with him. To everyone's shock, the president orders him to light her cigarette. The businessmen are left utterly baffled as to why she chose the trash for this honor. Simply stating he does not have a lighter, Ye Chen turns the goddess down. The wealthy guests erupt in anger, screaming for him to obey her immediately. Standing up calmly, the woman steps even closer to Ye Chen. Ignoring his bluntness, she asks for his name. Ye Chen fires back, asking if she is deaf and missed the Wang family screaming his name. She raises a hand, ordering her personal lackey to stay quiet. She offers him a way out, simply because he shares a surname with the new boss of the Huasheng group. She offers him a position as her personal bodyguard, a very difficult deal to refuse. The girls in the crowd whisper that she must be interested in him. The ex-wife glares in fierce jealousy. What could a woman of that status possibly want with Ye Chen? A businessman steps forward, asking if the big boss is also named Ye. She confirms it, but warns that the new boss prefers to keep his identity a strict secret. It is clear she has no idea who Ye Chen really is. Playing along, he asks what this escape route entails. Imposing her condition, the goddess states he only needs to drop to his knees and apologize. In exchange, she promises him a bodyguard salary of 200,000 a year. The ex-wife glares suspiciously. The powerful woman has not taken her eyes off Ye Chen. The crowd murmurs that President Qin always plays for high stakes and never acts without a solid reason. Enchanting the men in the room, the vice president holds absolute control over the situation. But Ye Chen drops a deadpan "I refuse," leaving the entire room completely speechless again. The ex-wife's jaw drops. To refuse an offer like that borders on insanity. Outraged by the public rejection, the iron-willed businesswoman loses her composure for a second. Staring right back at her, Ye Chen shows zero fear. Harshly shutting her down, he repeats that he does not want the job. A shiver runs down the powerful woman's spine. She is caught completely off guard. Her bodyguard furiously steps forward to defend his boss, but she instantly orders him back. Intrigued by the sheer audacity, Kin knows this guy is no ordinary nobody. Changing tactics, the president declares her total support for the Wayne family's boycott. Celebrating his downfall, the ex-wife sneers that he is finished and cannot even get a job as a basic henchman now. Unfazed, Yi-chen asks if she speaks only for herself or for the entire Huashen group, confirming she represents both. She demands to know who he thinks he is to question her. Whispers spread that her position is not that high and people start to doubt everything. Then the bombshell drops: the new President Yi is actually her lover. He faces this blatant lie since he never agreed to be her lover. Someone bluntly asks if he feels any shame about the whole situation. The crowd comments that only a powerful CEO could match her, marking the protagonist as a lost cause. With the 70 million deal seemingly guaranteed, the Wang family already celebrates their incoming profit. She asks everyone to keep the romance a secret, trying to control the narrative. Meanwhile, the boy struggles to hold back his laughter at the ridiculous story. The woman demands to know what he is laughing at. He fires back, telling her she is pretty, but not enough to attract this President Yi. Keeping up the delusion, she claims they admire each other and that he even rented an island to propose. She lies without even blinking an eye. Brushing the conversation aside, the boy announces he is heading to the registry office to sign the divorce papers. But the cousin tells him not to rush, offering him a seat to eat the leftovers. The playboy laughs at the pathetic display outside, amusing himself with the humiliation. Grabbing his phone, the boy states that Mr. Ma Kum's situation needs clearing up. He quickly dials a number, making a high-level call. Addressed as the third young master, he orders a license to be revoked immediately. He commands the cancellation of the Tuan Tuan delivery agency in Yuncheng, proving who is really in charge. The man on the other end accepts the order with complete submission, not asking a single question. He promises to handle it personally and even invites his boss to dinner. Shortly after, he ends the call and puts his phone away. A heavy silence falls over the room as the crowd tries to process what just happened. Businessman Ma bursts into laughter, dismissing the threat and mocking the boy. The guests ridicule him, refusing to believe a mere delivery man has connections with someone so powerful. His ex-wife calls him a fraud, visibly embarrassed by his act. President Qin keeps her eyes locked on the boy amidst the reactions. But then Mr. Makam receives an urgent call from President Wu, making him tremble on the spot. He turns pale upon hearing his license was revoked by a higher authority, his world collapsing around him. Panic sets in as his agency is taken away from him in an instant. Trying to hide his panic from the crowd, he steps away to continue the call. He begs President Wu to reconsider, terrified of ending up ruined. However, the contact states the decision came directly from headquarters, cutting off any chance of negotiation. The boss announces the contract is void and a substitute is already on the way, before hanging up. The protagonist stands by as the businessman breaks down in public. Forcing a fake smile to keep his composure, Mr. Ma lies, claiming the renewal was a success. Cousin Wang immediately raises a toast to his wealth, completely oblivious to his bankruptcy. Ma Kum holds back tears, and the boy mockingly asks if he is crying tears of joy from his success. The businessman claims the liquor burned his throat, trying to mask his despair. The boy demands to know why he isn't telling the truth about the license, humiliating the liar. Exploding with anger, Ma Kum claims Tuan Tuan took back management, trying to save face. The boy calmly sips his tea, pointing out how incredibly easy it was to ruin him. The crowd falls for Ma Kum's excuse, refusing to believe a delivery man could cause such a downfall. After all, if he really had that kind of power, the Wang family's ruin would be inevitable. The woman calms the room, assuring everyone his bankruptcy has nothing to do with the boy. She quickly adds that her ex-husband comes from a family of nobodies. Everyone laughs at the absurd idea of a true young master enduring 3 years of constant humiliation. His father-in-law brutally rejects his gift, ordering the waiter to take the expensive wine away. This circle of fake elites only cares about money, reeking of corruption. The waiter invites everyone to the appetizers, officially announcing the start of the banquet. He plans to sign the divorce papers right after eating so he doesn't ruin the grandmother's party. He waits for the banquet to end to settle the paperwork once and for all, but as they reach for the food, their spoons accidentally touch. The cousin causes a scene, screaming that her cutlery is dirty just from touching his. The boy makes a highly sarcastic comment about the papaya soup on the table. This leaves the girl furious, demanding to know exactly what he meant by that. She orders the protagonist to shut his mouth and just eat. The family attacks him, complaining that he arrived empty-handed to an 80th birthday party. Declaring that the word of the Wang family is law, the old woman orders him to eat before she throws him out. His mission would have failed years ago if the old lady hadn't stopped the divorce back then. He takes out his phone, ordering a luxury gift to be delivered to the hotel. His ex mocks him, stating the family doesn't doesn't accept trash, completely unaware of what is coming. She tells him to spare himself the embarrassment and cancel any cheap souvenir he ordered. She grows increasingly irritated, repeatedly asking if he is even listening. 10 minutes later, a delivery rider appears right at the venue's entrance. Stopped by security, the delivery man announces he has a special gift. He asks for the birthday girl holding a highly important package. He explains that the owner of a luxury car paid him to deliver it. Stepping forward, the playboy immediately demands the box. He grabs the velvet packaging and wastes no time tearing it open. The absurd glow coming from inside leaves everyone breathless. It reveals pure jade bracelets valued at no less than 10 million. People question which billionaire would send such a treasure through a simple delivery rider. Meanwhile, the boy eats in peace, ignoring the chaos he just caused. Fascinated by the jewels, the guests try to guess who dropped such a fortune. The family is deeply intrigued, knowing all the big shots are already at the banquet. They assume the gift must have come from one of the wealthy suitors. Convinced a powerful man is making a move, the girl starts dreaming of her next wedding. They insinuate the gift is from a rich man pursuing yuan, completely inflating her ego. They congratulate the old lady on her generous future grandson-in-law, treating the theory as absolute fact. They would rather invent a fake admirer than accept the truth, while he simply watches them. Standing up abruptly, he asks his ex if she is finally done eating. He states that the gift has been delivered, and it is time to head to the registry office. The woman looks at him in complete confusion, not grasping a single word. He points straight at the $10 million jewelry, confirming it is his farewell gift. Losing his temper, his father-in-law screams that he could never earn that much money in a single lifetime. Her cousin insists the gift belongs to a secret admirer, calling him a useless liar. Cutting the argument short, his ex demands they leave immediately to sign the papers. Wishing the old lady a happy birthday, he declares the jewelry pays off the 3 years he spent under their roof. Screaming at him to get out, the family tells him to disappear and stop making things up. With a final threat, the cousin warns him to leave the city for good. But the young man makes it clear that staying or leaving is entirely his choice, and no one controls him. Right after his ex-wife gets into her rich lover's car, mocking him, the playboy suggests he rent a bike to get there. Before driving off, she announces she will wait for him at the registry office entrance. Unbothered, he simply flags down a taxi to head to the location. He arrives at the destination fully prepared to sign away his marriage and gain his freedom. With the divorce certificate finally in his hands, he takes a deep breath of relief. Focused purely on his career, he vows to never be called useless again. Done with those rotten people, he simply turns his back and walks away. Shouting that he is trash, the ex-wife refuses to accept his indifference. She tells Feng Xiao to follow the taxi to confirm if he is actually leaving the city. They expect him to head straight for the train station, but the car turns in the opposite direction, leaving the two completely confused. The memory of his firm gaze sends a chill down her spine. The route leads away from both the train station and the airport. The taxi heads straight into the luxury district, making no sense to either of them. He is clearly not leaving the city, and the lie infuriates her. She insists he doesn't even have enough money for a cheap motel. The taxi then pulls up right in front of the luxurious Four Seasons hotel. Convinced he is just begging for a waiter job, they park right behind him. They step out ready to hurl insults, shouting that her family has blacklisted him from finding any work. Feng Xiao immediately calls the hotel manager to report an intruder. He demands they reject anyone by that name, trying to flex his influence, but the manager's response throws him off completely. No one by that name has applied for a job, leaving his presence a complete mystery. The suspicion arises that he might actually be a guest. They mock the idea, stating his credit limit could never cover 1,000 a night. Feng Xiao asks the manager directly to clear things up. The answer leaves a couple speechless. He just checked in. To make matters worse, he paid for 7 nights in advance. The total bill comes out to over 560,000. He went straight ahead and booked the presidential suite. At 80,000 a night, the entire fortune was paid up front. Searching for an explanation, Feng Xiao asks if he stole from the family accounts. Turning pale, the ex-wife questions everything she knew about the man she married. Dropping that kind of cash leaves the playboy completely speechless. On top of that, he handed a 10,000 tip to the receptionist. She shouts that the money belongs to her family and demands to know who let him inside. She scrambles to figure out where he got his hands on that kind of wealth. A new theory emerges. He must have stolen antiques from her grandmother's house. She calls home immediately to check for missing items, eager to report him to the police. Meanwhile, at the Wanhao Hotel, the guests ask the businesswoman if she is also leaving without meeting the bracelet donor. Her patience runs out with the mysterious man's delay, so she decides to head out. The empty road leaves the remaining guests with no expectation of anyone arriving. The businesswoman briefly considers that the gift genuinely came from him. Right then, the mother-in-law answers her daughter's call and asks if the divorce went through. Yelling through the phone, she orders her mother to check the antiques stakes for any theft. The mere possibility makes her boil with anger. The businesswoman breathes a sigh of relief. The guy is nothing but a thief. She stands up to leave, completely done with the drama of the wealthy. The mother-in-law waves goodbye, promising to handle her ex-son-in-law's crime. She sneaks out of the hall, desperate to avoid any public scandal. Irritated, the old woman demands to know how her daughter only caught the theft after signing the papers. The presidential suite reservation is all the proof she needs. He definitely cleaned out the safe. Slamming the table in fury, the old woman orders an immediate sweep of the mansion. She orders some people to stay put while the rest check the inventory. The scene cuts to the family's luxurious villa. They tear through the relic room from top to bottom to find what's missing. 20 minutes later, the cousin returns empty-handed. Not a single item is missing. The house and the artworks are perfectly intact, prompting the men to exchange confused looks. If nothing was taken, the money couldn't possibly have come from the Wang family. But the uncle insists on ruining him and demands a second, highly detailed search. Digging through locked drawers in a dark room, the uncle decides to forge some evidence. The cousin grabs an expensive watch belonging to the grandfather, sensing a golden opportunity. He lies that the item vanished from his room to create the perfect frame-up. Valued at 5 million, they boldly declare this is how he funded the suite. The old woman shouts that her late husband's favorite watch was stolen. She orders her men to drag him back immediately for a brutal lesson. The cousin and the uncle are dispatched to capture him at the hotel, but the cowardly cousin backs out, faking injuries from his last beating to avoid going. The uncle heads out alone to handle the mess, while his nephew retreats to his room. He calls Jiao, confirming she is still keeping an eye on the hotel. Back at the entrance of the luxury hotel, the ex-wife gets the news about the stolen $5 million watch. She is determined to destroy him once and for all. She marches to the reception, demanding his room number to start a massive scene. The chance to recover the watch and humiliate him publicly fuels her excitement. Her intense enthusiasm strikes a jealous nerve in Fang Chao. He tries to be rational, warning her against causing a scene in such a place, but she snaps back, calls him a coward, and decides to handle it herself. She pounds her fists on the presidential suite door, demanding the thief open up. Ignored for several moments, she turns red with anger and refuses to stop yelling. He eventually steps up to open the door, baffled by her endless harassment. He steps out wearing nothing but a towel, and his shredded physique completely catches her off guard. The sight of the man she always called useless leaves her speechless. The impressive six-pack right in front of her freezes her in place. Regretting never letting him walk around shirtless during the summer, she shakes her head to focus. Trying to regain her composure, she immediately accuses him of stealing her grandmother's watch. He responds with clear disdain, asking what watch she is even talking about. She doubles down, accusing him of taking the family's $5 million watch. She mocks him, stating that without the theft he could never afford a suite like this. Tired of these games, the constant blame from the Wang family pushes him to his limit. He states firmly that he never took a single cent from them, let alone a watch. He addresses her simply as Miss Wang, and the cold formality infuriates her. The man who once treated her like a goddess now offers nothing but utter contempt. She orders him to drop to his knees and confess the theft for a chance of forgiveness. She threatens to call the police, reminding him that stealing 5 million guarantees a prison sentence. Ignoring her ridiculous demands, he simply turns around and walks back into his room. She screams at the closed door and dials the police, putting on a massive show. She brags that the cops are on their way and he will soon rot in jail. However, the old matriarch panics when she hears her granddaughter actually called the police. The ex-wife argues that he is no longer family and should face the full extent of the law. The mother-in-law fully supports this, hoping he gets life in prison and disappears forever. 10 minutes later, the police chief arrives at the hotel, escalating the situation. Jiao lies straight to the officers' faces, accusing him of blowing the stolen money on luxuries. She points to the suite door, demanding they arrest the trash immediately. The officer tries to maintain order, shouting for him to come out and surrender. Inside, he simply ignores the ringing phone. Riding up the elevator, the officers and the ex-wife plan to kick the door down if necessary. Opening the door calmly in a silk robe, our guy faces Chief Lee. The officer immediately begins the interrogation, asking if he stole the 5 million. Keeping a firm voice, the protagonist swears he never took a single thing from the Wang family. The ex-wife bursts out laughing, bringing up his past as a broke delivery guy. The officer questions how an unemployed man can afford an 80,000 a night room. Unbothered, the protagonist grabs a document from the table and plays his final card. He reveals reveals the Huasheng Group transfer contract, shifting the mood instantly. The document proves he is the new CEO and majority shareholder, silencing the entire room. To back it up, he hands over a metal card embedded with gold and diamonds. The card alone is worth around 10,000, making the officers break into a cold sweat. The officer still tries to validate the document, requesting to run it through the police database. Perfectly calm, Agai calls the system administrator and requests 10 minutes of access. He orders the removal of his data protection so the officers can verify his identity. He gives them the green light to search, waiting for the results to load on their tablet. The official CEO profile of the Huasheng Group appears on the screen, leaving the officer completely speechless. The verified government profile confirms the massive mistake the authorities just made. The younger officer still pushes back, suggesting it might be the work of a hacker. To shut down any remaining doubts, the protagonist pulls up his bank account on his phone. The screen displays the sweep payment and his current balance, dropping their jaws. Almost dropping the phone, the chief shouts out the 10 billion balance. He points out how lucky his ex is for not checking his assets during the divorce settlement. He states that just one of his cards holds more value than the entire Wang family combined. The officers question why such a wealthy man agreed to marry into that family in the first place. Explaining it was a forced arrangement, he demands absolute secrecy from everyone in the room. The officers promise his privacy is guaranteed and swear to keep their mouths shut. He dismisses Chief Li, telling the officer to go on about his business. Down in the lobby, the officer informs the ex that her former husband is clean, advising her to search her own home again. She throws a fit, screaming that it is impossible for him to have money without stealing it. The officer hits her with the harsh truth, asking what kind of delivery guy casually holds 10 billion. Stating he cannot make an arrest without evidence, he demands photos or videos of the alleged crime. Chief Li also warns her to stop insulting the man by calling him trash or poor. Her face turns pale as the possibility of her ex being a massive big shot sets in. Walking away with a laugh, the officer mocks her for throwing away a billionaire husband. Right before he leaves, she asks if there was a woman in the room with him. The officer shuts down her suspicion, confirming he was completely alone. A fake smile spreads across her face as she convinces herself he is still in love with her. Watching from a distance, her lover gets frustrated by the police's passive behavior. Her brother calls, confirming that their plan to frame him has completely failed. She admits the police found zero evidence, solidifying their defeat. The brother suggests forging proof of the watch sale to get him arrested no matter what. He shamelessly admits that the watch is actually in his own hands. He promises to mock up a fake receipt to throw the protagonist behind bars. The image of her ex begging for help leaves her torn between hatred and a twisted sense of possession. Shaking it off, she decides to spend the night at the hotel with her lover. She asks him to stay, immediately giving the guy the wrong idea, but he snaps back, saying she cannot even handle her ex. Yet she is already trying to sleep with someone else. Without a second thought, she slaps him hard across the face. She orders him to alert her the exact second her ex steps out of the hotel. Suddenly, a random guy walks up and throws a cheap pickup line at her. The comment instantly infuriates the long-haired lover. Skipping ahead to the next morning, the scene cuts to our guy casually opening his hotel room door. He walks out of the building completely unfazed. He steps out sporting a sharp, well-dressed new look. One of the guards immediately reports that he is out on the street. The guard starts tailing the protagonist without wasting a single second. The trail stops right in front of Vice President Kin's office building. Her threat from the previous day is still fresh, setting the stage for her reaction today. Meanwhile, the guard informs the long-haired guy, leaving him confused about the protagonist's destination. He assumes the guy went there seeking revenge. He immediately makes a call to sound the alarm. The executive answers the phone, demanding to know who is on the line. She questions what Fang wants from her. Cutting straight to the chase, he warns her that the protagonist is in her building to get payback. Brimming with confidence, the vice president tells him to relax, boasting about her heavy security. He drops a massive bombshell, revealing the guy has an all-access pass and is already on his way up. The news shatters her confidence, leaving her trembling at the thought of a face-to-face encounter. Fang Chao blatantly lies, claiming the protagonist stole the watch and sold it for 5 million. The playboy fakes concern for Qin, trying to play the hero, losing her patience. The businesswoman gives a quick thanks and orders security to check the office. She hangs up right in his face before he can even offer to help. Qin orders her secretary Rong Rong to hunt down the intruder. Half an hour later, the scene shifts to the imposing Huasheng Group headquarters. Security guards greet the secretary at the entrance. Rong Rong says good morning and swipes her card to enter the building. The guards chat among themselves, commenting on how she is much more approachable than her boss. Up in the presidential suite, panic sets in as Rong Rong finds a man inside the office. Sitting comfortably in the main chair, the protagonist simply asks who she is. The girl introduces herself as President Qin's personal secretary. Her Her striking outfit clearly caters to male attention, sparking a quick remark from the protagonist. He questions if her boss prefers women, but the secretary firmly demands answers. Staring her down, he introduces himself as the new president, Yi Chen. The girl freezes in her tracks, completely overwhelmed by the bombshell revelation. Embarrassed, she begs for forgiveness, explaining her boss had warned her about a suspect. The protagonist brushes it off, making a comment about the Wang family haunting his every step. He orders the famous, most beautiful CEO to come see him the moment she arrives. Hiding in the bathroom, Rongrong calls her boss, who answers in a panic. The secretary reports that the alleged intruder is actually the new president Yi, leaving Qin in utter shock. The businesswoman floors the gas pedal of her convertible, speeding straight to the company. 10 minutes later, the powerful Qin bursts into the lobby. Rongrong meets her at the door, confirming the man is waiting upstairs. The assistant passes on the message that the new boss demands to see her immediately in his office. Walking down the hall, Qin questions the unusual buzz among the employees so early in the day. Gossip is spreading like wildfire. Everyone is eager to catch a glimpse of the handsome new CEO. Rongrong gushes over his looks, claiming he is far more handsome than any celebrity. Qin is caught off guard by his age, considering it took her years to climb the corporate ladder. Qin demands professionalism, ordering her staff to stop drooling over their new boss. The secretary jokes that a dominating CEO like him is the perfect match for her boss. She brings up a compliment he gave her, but Qin quickly shuts down the nonsense. Brimming with confidence, the businesswoman plans to make him lick the ground she walks on. The staff recalls how she has brought stubborn billionaires to their knees before. As the girls ask for advice, the boss touches up her lipstick for the upcoming confrontation. Qin leaves the door wide open so everyone can watch her tame the newcomer. The employees cheer, urging her to make the protagonist drop to his knees. Qin decides to humiliate him, making sure everyone knows who truly runs the place. Without hesitation, she knocks on the door and enters after getting his permission. Even facing away, his imposing silhouette alone catches the vice president off guard. She mentions she received his summons, finding his profile oddly familiar. The protagonist sets the papers down and slowly turns to face her. Outside the office, the crowd places bets on the new boss falling at their queen's feet. The moment his face is revealed, Qin freezes in shock and stutters Yi Chen's name. Her legs give out, and the powerful businesswoman collapses to her knees. The eavesdropping staff stare in utter confusion as their boss kneels on the office floor. Rongrong rushes to shut the door, hiding her boss's humiliation from the crowd. The secretary panics, completely lost on how the situation flipped so drastically. The protagonist looks up, locking eyes with the spying employees. Caught red-handed, the gossips scream and scatter down the hallway in panic. Still on the floor, Qin Hongyan trembles in fear right in front of the protagonist. He asks why she is on her knees, and the businesswoman immediately begs for mercy. Scrambling to her feet, she apologizes and blames the Wang family for misleading her. He brings up her previous claim from yesterday, reminding her that she swore they were lovers. Without warning, he pulls her in and plants a deep kiss on her, leaving the executive in absolute shock. Her perfume fills the air as he asks which private island she booked for their date. Flushing red with embarrassment, she can only repeat how wrong she was. The protagonist lets her go and orders her to pull herself together. He tells her to close the blinds and she obeys without hesitation. He reminds her of her bold promise to destroy the new president's auctions. Sitting in her chair, he asks exactly how she plans to block him now. Qin admits she completely misjudged his status and accepts whatever punishment comes her way. She offers no excuses, fully prepared to be berated, beaten, or fired on the spot. Her composure stands out. She owns her mistake instead of panicking. The executive braces for the worst, but he simply states she is not fired. He explains that during yesterday's mess, she was the only one who offered him a dignified way out. With tears in her eyes, she swears absolute loyalty to her new master. He pardons her but makes it clear he will show zero mercy to the others who stood against him. Calling her by her first name, he demands a full dossier on every enemy from the banquet. She nods in agreement, knowing his next move is about to shake the city's entire business world. Half an hour later, she hands over the files, starting right with Feng Zhao. The files state the Feng family is worth 10 billion, but Qin casually dismisses their actual power. Hong Yan sets the record straight. Their assets have actually shrunk to 3 billion and they are dropping fast. She reveals the Wang family's recent credit request, eager to make Jiachi suffer for siding with Feng Zhao. Keeping business strictly separate from personal grudges, he asks to review the Wang family's project proposal. She offers endeavors to fetch the documents, but the protagonist decides to go with her. Elsewhere, Fang Chao wonders if the president has already dealt with the protagonist. A woman walks up and calls him young master, though the playboy has no idea who she is. She reminds him how he bought her drinks and relentlessly hit on her the entire night. Brushing off his drunken memory, he suddenly recalls she is an employee at the Huaxing group. Seeing an opening, the playboy convinces the employee to sneak him upstairs under the guise of saving Qin from danger. A minute later, they step out of the elevator right onto the executive floor. Fang Chao overhears the whispers about the boss dropping to her knees for the new president. Confused, he asks for Qin, but the secretary firmly demands an appointment. Ignoring protocol entirely, he marches straight toward the president's office. He brutally kicks the door open, sending it crashing against the wall. Bursting inside, he spots the protagonist with the executive and immediately screams about the thief. Furious, he accuses the protagonist of trying to exact revenge on President Qin. Striking a fake hero pose, he offers to personally throw the protagonist out. Out of nowhere, the businesswoman delivers a vicious slap to the playboy's face, leaving him completely stunned. Furious, she demands to be treated with the respect her title commands. Fang Chao quickly corrects himself, finally registering that no one else in the room is surprised by the protagonist's presence. He jumps to the ridiculous conclusion that the protagonist has been hired as a bodyguard. He starts mocking him, assuming the protagonist begged on his knees for a basic security job. He loudly declares that the protagonist came crawling back just to be Qin's obedient lapdog. He urges the boss to fulfill her promise and destroy the protagonist once and for all. Rongrong gasps in shock, horrified to hear her boss ever plotted against the new president. Enraged, the businesswoman slaps Fang again and violently screams her denial. She immediately orders security to drag the playboy out and fires the employee who let him in. Escorted out of the building, Fang Chao seethes over the humiliation of getting slapped in front of his rival. He throws out a final threat, swearing that a security badge will not save the protagonist from prison. Sitting in his car, he curses Qin's name, plotting to destroy her right after locking down the protagonist's ex-wife. He starts the engine, eager to spread the fake news to the Wang family about the protagonist's new security job. An hour later, the Wang family matriarch reacts in pure shock to the ridiculous rumor. Fang Zhao swears up and down that he saw her former son-in-law carrying files like a lowly grunt. The relatives voice their doubts while the ex-wife stands completely paralyzed by the news. The playboy spins a lie, claiming the protagonist fell to his knees to beg the businesswoman for forgiveness. He suggests Qin had a rare moment of pity and decided to take the trash in. Wang Jiqi's blood boils at the very thought of her ex-husband kneeling for another woman. She bitterly complains that he never once knelt for her during their 3 years of marriage. Her sister chimes in with a taunt, saying Jiaqi simply lacked the charm to properly tame her own husband. The brother-in-law laughs as his wife brags about how she would have made him wash her feet every single day. Furious, Jiaqi snaps back that she was far too kind, vowing she would force him to his knees day and night if she had the chance. The ex-wife demands that her grandmother sever all ties with the businesswoman and make her pay. The matriarch instantly slaps her granddaughter across the face, ordering her to shut her mouth. She reminds everyone that a 70 million deal depends entirely on Qin making enemies is simply not an option. Jiaqi's father points out her obvious jealousy, bluntly stating that Qin is far more capable than she is. Ji-Chi tries to storm off to the company to cause a scene, but her grandmother forbids her from leaving the house. Ji-Qiang suggests the matriarch call Qin directly to smooth things over. Over the phone, the old woman tells Qin that if she had known her interest in the protagonist, she would have handed him over for free. She firmly demands an explanation as to why Qin broke her promise to blacklist the man. Qin offers a polite apology, fully aware the old woman would have a heart attack if she ever found out the truth. The matriarch casually hands the protagonist over to the businesswoman, pushing Jiaqi to the brink of despair. Changing the subject, the old woman pushes for an update on the 70 million financing. Qin mentions that President Ye took an interest in the project, but demands to review the fine details. Pleasantly surprised, the old woman assigns Jiqiang to head to the group for an official meeting. He confidently promises to impress President Yi and secure the final deal. Jiqiang asks if they are dropping the theft accusations, now that the protagonist is supposedly Qin's new lover. The old woman orders them to keep digging for proof so they can throw him in jail later on. A relative speaks up, claiming he found out exactly which local thug bought the stolen watch from him. A malicious smile spreads across the old woman's face as she orders them to secure the evidence and destroy Qin's new lapdog. The matriarch lashes out at the rest of her family, calling every single one of them useless and incompetent. She humiliates Jiaqi, saying her granddaughter was incapable of keeping her own husband. happened? In tears, Jia storms out of the room, completely ignoring her mother's calls. Behind the wheel, she steps on the gas, determined to teach her ex a lesson for embarrassing her. She speeds into the Huasheng parking lot, tires screeching in pure rage. Chin Hongyan is standing right there, waiting near a car. The MC is right beside her, keeping close to the businesswoman. The two of them stand together as the MC closely accompanies his boss. They share a laugh, and the MC clearly looks far better after the divorce. She slams her car door shut and yells that he is just a shameless lapdog. The MC turns to her, while his boss glares at the arrogant woman interrupting them. His ex-wife accuses him of kneeling for total strangers instead of her. She claims she gave him plenty of chances, and he would still be a son-in-law if he had just begged. The MC asks if she has no shame being so completely out of line. He brings up her cheating with the playboy, yet she still expected him to get on his knees. Jiaqi insists that if he had just begged, she would have stopped the divorce. She yells that he willingly bows to his boss, but not to his own ex-wife. The MC fires back. Kneeling for a loyal wife is honorable, but kneeling for a cheater is just pathetic. Jiaqi screams that she spoiled him and should have made him wash her feet from the very beginning. The MC responds with a cold, dead silent glare. Out of nowhere, Hongyan steps up and slaps the ex across the face, making her scream in pain and shock. The boss explodes, asking if the cheater has absolutely no shame left. Jiaqi cries in sheer anger, but the businesswoman makes it clear she will slap her whenever she pleases. The girl accuses the executive of stealing her man and assaulting her on top of it. The MC places a hand on his boss's shoulder to calm her down and tells her to drop it. He orders Jiaqi to leave, making it crystal clear that he is no longer her man. His ex compares him to a family dog and outright forbids him from working as her rival's bodyguard. She tries to bribe him with 500,000, seriously ticking him off. Standing side by side, it is obvious he looks much better as a single man. She slams her car door again and calls the MC Kin's little lapdog. The MC turns his attention to her while his boss scoffs at the sheer audacity of the arrogant princess. His ex demands to know why he knelt for this woman and not for her. She swears he would still be a son-in-law of the Wang family if he had just begged for forgiveness. The MC asks if she has any shame acting so shamelessly. He brings up her cheating at the hotel and the sheer absurdity of expecting him to kneel. Ji insists she gave him a chance at the banquet to save their marriage. She yells, demanding to know why he serves another woman instead of his own wife. The MC fires back. Kneeling for a cheater is sheer humiliation, not respect. Jaichi screams that she spoiled him and should have made him wash her feet. The MC maintains an icy glare, completely ignoring his ex's outburst. Hongyan completely loses her patience and delivers another hard slap across the brat's face. The boss tears into the ex's attitude, pointing out how she cheated yet still tries to play the victim. Crying, Chi demands an explanation for the assault, but the businesswoman couldn't care less. The girl accuses her rival of stealing her man and assaulting her, putting on a full show of victimhood. The MC calms his boss down and tells her not to waste her energy on this. He cuts ties for good and tells his ex to go her own way. Jiaqi orders him to quit his job, still acting possessive over her family's so-called dog. She offers him a raise to leave the company, but it only annoys him further. Melon rejects the dirty offer, stating that Boss Lu's orders are absolute law. Desperate young Wang offers him a luxury watch worth 4 million. The redhead hesitates. His loyalty to his mentor is supposed to be absolute. Wang lowers the asking price to 3 million, guaranteeing an easy profit for the thug. Melon's eyes light up with greed, and he accepts the deal. Easy money is impossible to refuse. Back in the car, the MC strictly forbids his partner from ever laying a finger on his ex again. He states that love and hate are simply two sides of the exact same coin. The young master's deep and mature perspective leaves a strong impression on her. He is wealthy, handsome, and incredibly generous with women. Since his ex failed to value him, she makes it her own mission to win the MC over. At the temple, he breaks down the luxury project the Wang family wants to finance. The young woman praises the location, calling it the perfect retreat for the city's elite. She questions why he would ever give money to people who treated him like trash. The MC reveals that the project was actually his idea, leaving his assistant completely speechless. He explains that the Wang heirs are utterly mediocre, constantly fighting over mere scraps. His original plan was to build an exclusive estate to directly control the local elite. He gave the idea to his ex, but the grandmother handed control over to Uncle Jikyang instead. The blatant sexism within the Wang family is obvious, making the assistant actually pity the MC's ex. He confirms that she was always under intense pressure, which led to their arranged marriage. A leaf falls, and he mutters that her past struggles do not justify the cheating. The MC gently brushes the fallen leaf from the woman's hair. He heaps the maple leaf and invites his assistant out for a drink. Jielin shows up alone at a bar, shouting that she wants to drink everything in sight. Soon, the MC's ex arrives with her friend, begging for some company. Sung Hongye questions the heavy day drinking and offers to go after whoever pissed her off. Jielin explodes, explaining that Chin slapped her and complaining that she isn't even allowed to curse her ex. In tears, the ex desperately questions the real relationship between the businesswoman and the MC. Hongye explains, to beat a dog you must look at its master, and Kin refuses to let anyone insult her servant. Jielin tries to justify herself, claiming she only cheated once, and that every beautiful woman does it. The redhead reveals that her friend has already repeated the mistake, making Hongye spit out her drink. Jielin argues that her ex should have just kept his mouth shut since he lived off her family's charity. Envy consumes her at the fact that he became someone else's bodyguard instead of hers. Her friend points out that the MC loved her for 3 years and wouldn't move on that fast. Hongye claims he only took the job to force Jielin into respecting him. She theorizes that he just wants to earn his own money so he can ask for her hand in marriage again. Jielin falls for the theory, fully embracing the idea that this is her ex's grand plan. The ex-wife gives a smug little smirk, already claiming victory. She mutters to herself, absolutely certain the foolish MC is still crazy about her. Her friend suggests she marry Fang, and if it fails, she can just run right back to the MC. Completely drunk, Jielin agrees to the plan, declaring that the MC deserves to suffer a bit anyway. Hongye asks how he became a deliveryman when he used to just stay at home all day. Jielin explains that he needed cash for his sick mother and was forced to figure it out. Her phone rings, and her friend announces it is her annoying cousin, Wang Xiaoji. Xiaoji orders her to go see their grandmother, claiming he found proof of the watch sale. The MC's phone also rings with a call from the exact same scumbag. The villain summons him to the mansion to face the supposed proof of his crime. The MC refuses, but Xiaoji pushes him, claiming the witness is already there waiting. Faced with such a blatant lie, our guy decides to head over and end the farce himself. He asks Secretary Zhou if she knows how to drive, and she confirms immediately. The MC orders her to head to the Shan Villa, and she quickly grabs the keys. The two speed off, tearing down the road. Returning to this place now as a grandmaster carries a heavy weight. 30 minutes later, the car pulls up right in front of the estate. Secretary Zhou steps out of the car with all the authority of her position. The family is confused by the elite secretary's presence and looks around for the MC. Zhou opens the back door and announces the arrival of President Yi. The MC steps out and asks her to wait for him outside. The family is stunned to see a high-end secretary acting as his personal driver. Xiaoji mocks him, assuming the MC is just staging a cliché comeback story. Another woman agrees, calling the whole act ridiculous and showy. His cousin asks how much the MC paid the woman to open the door for him. Someone else chimes in that he is just a lapdog, but the MC completely ignores the insults. Jielin stands to the side, laughing to herself at the scene. She fully believes her friend's theory. The MC is just trying to prove he made it in life. Losing patience, he demands to see this so-called witness to the watch sale. Xiaoji leads him down a hallway to a room full of thugs. These are just cheap street thugs putting on a circus act. Melon greets him with a mocking smirk, pretending they are old friends. The redhead blatantly lies, claiming the MC sold him the watch for 5 million. Xiaojia accuses the MC of playing dumb to avoid admitting the theft. The MC scoffs at the low-level witness and tells them to drop the act. The grandmother accuses the MC of stealing from the family and having the sheer audacity to argue about it. He tells the matriarch he came to clear things up and that he never touched the watch. The old woman holds up the piece and asks how it ended up with a street thug. Melon lies, saying the MC sold the watch to pay for a luxury hotel stay. Xiaojie celebrates in silence, completely convinced his plan against the MC is flawless. He tried living as a normal guy, but all he ever received was absolute contempt. He decides to lay the truth out on a table. He is the president of the Huasheng Group. He asks if being a billionaire is proof enough, leaving the room in dead silence. The entire family bursts into laughter, treating it like a massive joke. Xiaojie mocks him, asking if he stepped right out of a comedy movie. A woman laughs and says if that were true, she would happily become his second wife. Melon tells him to drop the act and get on his knees if he wants to avoid jail. Jiaqi states that, out of respect for their 3 years of marriage, she won't let her ex go to prison. She demands that he kneel and admit his mistake so he can walk away completely free. The MC refuses. Absolutely no one in this family is worthy of seeing him on his knees. Jaichi's mother flies into a rage, screaming for the police to arrest the useless son-in-law. Melon fears the police. An investigation would easily expose the fake watch scheme. The thug decides to force the MC to his knees just to please the old woman. The goons grab the MC, trying to force him into submission. With an icy glare, our guy stands his ground. They do not deserve an ounce of his respect. With one swift motion, he breaks free from their grip and shatters their defense. The MC lands a clean punch on his rival, making him howl in pain. Startled by the technique, Melon orders a full-on attack. Out of nowhere, the family poodle bites one of the thugs, protecting the MC. Wawa runs over to the MC and takes shelter right between his legs. He picks a dog up. This little animal is far more grateful than the entire family combined. The MC points out that even a dog recognizes who actually took care of it. The matriarch orders Yuan to take the animal back immediately. The dog barks and completely refuses to leave our guy's side. The grandmother gives him one last chance to kneel and avoid the worst. The MC repeats the obvious fact. None of them are worthy of making him bend the knee. The thugs charge at him with everything they have, swearing bloody vengeance. His past combat training in Syria instantly kicks in. He effortlessly dodges their strikes and takes the attackers down one by one. For someone who lived through actual wars, this brawl is just child's play. Within seconds, the floor is completely covered with groaning thugs. One brute manages to grab him, trying to pin him down from behind. The thug pulls out a knife, threatening to slash the MC's tendons. Melon charges in furiously, ready to cripple our guy once and for all. The MC uses the attacker as a human shield, and Melon ends up stabbing his own ally. He unleashes an electric shock, knocking both brutes out cold. The family is left utterly stunned by the terrifying strength the MC just displayed. The grandmother suspects her late husband actually knew about these secret skills. Chi scoffs, assuming her grandfather was only after the MC's money. Yuan's father comments that the old man had truly found a rare gem. He reveals that the MC was originally offered to his other granddaughter first. Chi-Chang explains that he rejected the MC for his own daughter because he looked like a country bumpkin. He laughs at Jiaqi for ending up with the leftovers her sister threw away. Yuan gloats over her sister, claiming she was incredibly lucky to dodge that bullet. The harsh truths behind his arranged marriage is finally out in the open. After years of brutal warfare, all he ever wanted was peace and a real family. He fell for Jiaqi at first sight, genuinely believing she was the sweet love of his life. He clenches his fist. His dream of a warm home has turned into a complete nightmare. Out of nowhere, he steps forward and crushes Melon's wrist. The thug freezes in absolute terror. The MC mercilessly twists the redhead's arm, making him scream in agony. Glaring down at the trash, he demands to know who ordered the fake watch setup. Melon tries to act tough, but the cold sweat dripping down his face gives his fear away. Xiaoji panics, terrified the thug will spill the beans and ruin him. The MC drops the worm and issues a challenge. If they have proof, call the cops and end this stupid show. He grabs his jacket to leave, followed by the barks of the incredibly loyal Huahua. The little dog tugs at his pants, desperately pleading for the only decent human in the room to stay. The MC gently pets the dog, stating it is the only truly valuable thing in this entire house. Jiqiang stops his son from going after the MC. He knows perfectly well that no one here can beat him. Xiaoji rushes over to help Melon, realizing this situation is way out of his depth. Furious, the redhead demands 1 million for the damages and accepts the mission to completely wipe the MC out. The thug takes the dirty job, but makes it clear he is in a massive hurry to disappear. Xiaoji swears a bloody revenge for being humiliated inside his own home. Back at the company, the MC approves the new partnership and orders the Wang family to be called in for a test. Hongyan follows the order and prepares the summons for that family of snakes. Over at the Wang mansion, the mood is completely festive with the news of the investment. Jiqiang announces the funding was approved, but President Ye requested an in-person meeting. The matriarch orders her son to lick the boss's boots clean just to secure the millions. Yuan pops out of nowhere, acting all sweet, and asks to accompany her father to the meeting. Her father is confused, but she confesses she just wants to meet this handsome young president. Jiaqi burns with deep jealousy and reminds them that the man already has Qin as a lover. Yuan fires back. A lover is not a wife, and she guarantees she has far more to offer. Xiaoji and the grandmother fully support the seduction plan. To them, status is the only thing that matters. The old woman officially authorizes the hunt for the president, and Yuan is already daydreaming about a life of luxury. Consumed by envy, Jiaqi decides to go as well, bitter that her project changed hands. Yuan gloats over her sister, claiming the president would never want a divorced woman. The grandmother completely ignores Jiaqi and tells her youngest granddaughter to focus entirely on winning the billionaire over. Jiaqi storms out, foaming with absolute rage at the old woman's blatant favoritism. An hour later at Huaxing, the secretary announces the arrival of the Wang family. He has them seated in the reception area to wait indefinitely. With an ironic smile, he orders the staff to deny them even a glass of water. While waiting, Yuanyuan complains about her tight qipao, but her father reminds her the high slit is strategic. Zhiqiang coaches her on the art of high-class seduction. The goal is marriage, not a quick fling. She promises to steal President Qin's position, while her father is already dreaming of taking control of the family. 10 minutes pass, and Yuanyuan huffs in frustration over the lack of service. She demands black tea from Secretary Zhou, who simply smiles and asks for patience. Another 10 minutes of sitting idly go by, and the girl explodes over the delay. Her father scolds her to maintain her ladylike posture, warning that the boss could walk in at any second. She forces herself to settle down, pasting on a perfect artificial smile. Half an hour later, her back aches and her patience runs dry. Where is the president? It becomes obvious that President Yi is completely disregarding their presence. The door finally opens, and Yi Chen strolls into the room with total calm. He immediately starts lecturing Yuanyuan on her sloppy posture. She jumps in surprise. He then compliments her outfit, mentioning it has been years since she dressed up like this. Yuanyuan tells him to back off, calling him a piece of trash unworthy of her attention. Zhiqiang snaps, demanding to know what a mere security guard is doing in the real boss's place. Amused by their denial, Yi Chen states clearly, if they want to talk about the project, he is the one in charge. Yuanyuan's father scoffs, calling him an ignorant guard who knows nothing about real money. Out of patience for their insults, our guy threatens to leave them talking to the walls. Yuanyuan grabs his arm, desperate to squeeze out some insider information. She asks for dirt on President Qin, and Ye Chen pretends to spill the secrets. Prying further, she asks if the boss and President Yi live together. A golden opportunity presents itself. He lies, claiming the two broke up, just to watch the chaos unfold. The gasp of, "They broke up," echoes through the room, sending father and daughter into pure ecstasy. Yuanyuan praises the heavens for this luck. Her extreme joy is visibly bizarre. The girl switches back to her ladylike posture, already acting like she owns the whole company. She awkwardly forces intimate nicknames on Yi Chen, trying to sound like family. Zhiqiang points out that since he works there, he now owes his absolute obedience to his future boss. He is already planning his daughter's wedding with the president, uniting the families once again. Ye Chen questions her confidence, and the girl swears it is impossible for the president to resist her. She brings up her grandmother's $1,000,000 bracelet, suspecting it was a gift from President Ye, feeding her delusions. Ye Chen confirms it. The gift really did come from President Ye. Yuanyuan nearly explodes with happiness, absolutely certain she has a billionaire admirer. Father and daughter exchange victorious looks, convinced the big fish is already on the hook. Zhiqiang is already acting the part of father-in-law to the most powerful man in Yuncheng. Their naked greed is sickening. He leaves them completely immersed in their own delusion. Out in the hallway, Jia Qi is looking for the president, but Ye Qin tells her he is busy. He describes the current visitor as a cheap flirt, deliberately stoking his ex-wife's anger. Ji Qi boils with jealousy, ready to storm into the office and teach the cheap woman a lesson. Her father holds her back, begging her not to ruin her image in front of the billionaire. Ye Chen tells them all to sit and wait, walking away with a smirk. 5 minutes later, the secretary dismisses the Wangs, citing an unforeseen issue with the boss. The harsh rejection leaves father and daughter completely stunned and full of doubts. Zhiqiang tries to secure a new appointment, but Secretary Zhou firmly escorts them to the exit. Out on the street, Yuanyuan calls her mother to call an emergency meeting at the mansion. Over at the luxurious Sishan villa, tension hangs heavy in the air. Ji Qi demands to know if the contract was signed, but her cousin claims the news is even better. Yuanyuan announces that the $10 million bracelet was a direct gift from President Ye. Jie spirals out of control, demanding to know how her poor ex-husband could possibly be involved. The grandmother is skeptical. She insists the gift was merely a courtesy from President Qin to their family. Zhiqiang steps in to prove the romance is over, claiming the president's focus is solely on Yuanyuan. Her cousin gloats, pointing out that when the gift arrived, Jiachi was still a married woman. The matriarch takes the bait completely, celebrating their incredible luck in securing such a wealthy suitor for her granddaughter. Yuanyuan promises to carry the Wang family to the top, soaking up the old woman's endless praise and pampering. Asked about her source, she laughs and reveals it was none other than the useless Yi Chen. Yuanyuan volunteers to handle the contract that afternoon, completely cutting Jiachi out of the deal. Mockingly, she offers her cousin the job of driver to chauffeur her to the company. Humiliated, Jiachi explodes, screaming that she refuses to be anyone's maid. She storms out and speeds away in her car, while her family completely ignores her distress. Behind the wheel, pure hatred takes over. She drives recklessly through the streets like a madwoman. Desperation clouds her judgment, and she misses the brakes on a sharp curve. The crash is inevitable. Her car violently smashes into the guardrail. Amidst tears and twisted metal, she unleashes all her blazing hatred toward our guy. Back in the quiet office, Ye Chen's phone vibrates. It is a call from his ex-wife. When he answers, he is met with nothing but hateful screams and baseless insults. The outburst is completely out of left field. Why is she suddenly throwing a massive tantrum? She screams through the phone, calling him an idiot for hiding the truth about the bracelet earlier, only to blab about it to her uncle and cousin now. Because of him, she suffered the worst humiliation of her life. The reason for the meltdown becomes obvious. He simply replies that he always told the truth. They were the ones who chose to live in a lie. Weeping, Jichi complains that her grandmother now only cares about Yuanyuan. She explains how her cousin humiliated her by demanding she act as a chauffeur, terrified of losing her family status if Yuanyuan marries the billionaire. Ye Chen shuts her down with a simple question. Don't you have your young master Fang? She snaps back, admitting that Fang Chao doesn't even come close to President Yi in power or social standing. Then, despite her hatred, she demands a favor from him. He suppresses a laugh. Being compared to his own alter ego and his rival is utterly ridiculous. Jiachi screams that even if Fang is a nobody compared to the president, he is still 10,000 times better than Ye Chen, who did nothing but ruin their marriage. Done dealing with her foolishness, our guy warns he is hanging up. He has better things to do than listen to his ex-wife's rants. Desperate, she swallows her pride and begs him not to hang up, insisting the situation is an absolute emergency. The sudden change in tone and the distant crash in the background are hard to ignore. He finally asks, "What do you want now? But what about you? Did you enjoy the video? Want to see what happens next?"